On the season, they've beaten 2 top 3 teams already.
And the reason they're capable of doing it is because their playing style contrasts when they play against these teams. They're different than Arizona, they're different than Duke, and they're definitely different than Virginia. So Virginia has to be on watch out for a very dangerous Wolfpack team because they want to heat this Virginia team up and see if they can force them into that 16.1 turnovers that they get every time out.
Al Freeman leads NC State in scoring. He's in a shooting slump. Omer Yurtseven coming off a career-high 29 for the Wolfpack. Virginia, 3 great outside shooters in Guy, Hall, and Jerome, while Wilkins is the defensive stopper. Officials in this game, Doug Shows, Brian O'Connell, and Joe Lindsay. Opening tap knocked out of bounds. It'll be NC State ball. And this game, Corey, promises to be a clash of tempos.
No question about that. NC State wants to get up and down the floor. They want to put a lot of pressure on Virginia. Kevin Keats told us it's as simple as the fact that they cannot allow Virginia to play in their normal rhythm. They've got to be able to take them out of that somehow.
This is Torin Dorn. Now Yurtseven had the big game against Clemson on Thursday. Abdul Malik Abu over Jack Salt. And they'll get Yurtseven going over the back on Isaiah Wilkins.
And that's a big play. And a lot of the questions surrounding this game was who would Tony Bennett have guard Yurtseven? Would it be Wilkins or would it be Jack Salt? Of course, he would have an advantage against Salt on the perimeter and the advantage against Wilkins on the block. But that foul to put Yurtseven almost in a tentative state this early in the game.
Virginia 4-0 in the ACC. As Jerome, off the nice feed from Wilkins, scores the first basket.
Tony Bennett has already combated Kevin Keats' pressure style by having Kyle Guy initiating the offense, with Al Freeman or Torin Dorn having to guard him, bring it up in comparison to putting the point guard guarding Ty Jerome in the full court.
There's Freeman, kicks to Dorn, less than 10 to shoot. Yurtseven, great position down low. And that's where he can take advantage of Wilkins.
That's that matchup. And Kevin Keats was eyeing that. He was waiting to see how Tony Bennett would guard Yurtseven. And if that stays, if it's going to continue to be Wilkins, we're going to see a lot of Omer Yurtseven in the post because he has a decided advantage against Wilkins giving up 5 inches to Yurtseven.
Yurtseven got his hand on it. Here's the turnover. Wolfpack trying to go quickly on offense. Braxton Beverly, the freshman, way off. Something NC State did well in the win Thursday against Clemson. They played their tempo and only turned it over 4 times.
And that was something we asked Kevin Keats about. He said he hadn't seen that before from this team. As a matter of fact, it's the least amount of turnovers that the NC State team has had in the last 6 seasons. Matching that, they did that in the upset over North Carolina.
Hall drives and kicks. Extra pass. Guy for 3. Doesn't go. And the rebound into Freeman. Yurtseven to the baseline. Working on Wilkins. Isaiah Wilkins with a good job forcing Yurtseven to the offhand. With Corey Alexander and Ish Schroff here in Charlottesville, Virginia, John Paul Jones Arena. Virginia ranked 3rd in the nation. Only 1 loss in 16 games as Kyle Guy makes it 4-2. And this is a Virginia team that sits alone in first place in the ACC, the only ACC team still unbeaten in league play.
And that's what makes this matchup even more exciting when you consider that Kevin Keats and this Wolfpack team have knocked off 2 straight ranked opponents, the number 2 Duke Blue Devils, as well as the number 19 Clemson Tigers, and looking for a 3rd straight win against a ranked opponent here at the JPJ.
3-second violation on NC State. There's Tony Bennett now in his 9th season, and he might be in store for his 3rd ACC Coach of the Year award when all is said and done this season. Virginia has exceeded many expectations through the first 16 games.
got our first opportunity really to see NC State pick up 94 feet. And speaking of 94 feet, LeVar Batts at the scores table about to check in for NC State. And no one in the ACC right now doing it better than LeVar Batts as far as pressuring 94 feet. Had 5 steals against Clemson on Thursday night. And I'll be honest with you, 2 to 3 of those, he pretty much just took the ball from the opposing guy in front of him.
Talking to Kevin Keats this morning, he said the defensive energy that Batts brings is so crucial. The offense has not quite caught up to the defense. When he shoots it, sometimes it's cringeworthy, but he's a game changer defensively.
But, you know, really he also puts a lot of pressure on the opposing teams by getting out in transition. So offensively, there are ways that he can have a tremendous impact on the game. Not as big of an impact against Clemson on Thursday, but against Duke last Saturday, 7 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. So Batts is a guy that's really starting to grow in his role here with the Wolfpack.
Beverly to Batts, a couple of freshmen. Beverly turns it over.
And that's the thing for this North Carolina State team. We mentioned the 4 turnovers that they had against Clemson on Thursday, but turnovers at times have plagued them on the offensive end of the floor. And they're actually a pretty good offensive team when they get looks at the basket, so they can't continue to give away opportunities.
Jerome kicks it to Wilkins. Long baseline jumper is there for Isaiah Wilkins.
And Isaiah Wilkins, in my opinion, needs to be a little more selfish in taking those shots. As you see, he's capable of making them, but he's a guy that's really more interested in getting his teammates good shots than he is taking his own. But he makes this Virginia team dangerous when he's knocking down shots, especially on the perimeter.
Al Freeman, graduate transfer from Baylor, leading scorer for NC State. Now it's Abdul Malik Abu. And it'll stay with the Wolfpack. Virginia off to a fast start at home. Who's leading this 8-2?
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Sam Adams. Fill your glass. And Degree Deodorant. It won't let you down.
Virginia with the early 8-2 lead on NC State alongside former Virginia standout Corey Alexander. I'm Anish Shroff. This Virginia team didn't come into the season with a lot of hype, picked 6th in the ACC. What did we miss?
Well, what we missed was the fact that if you're in Charlottesville and Tony Bennett is coaching, there are 3 things that are certain: depth, taxes, and defense. It's going to be that with Tony Bennett. And at the end of the day, this is a coach that has led the country in scoring defense 4 to 5 times throughout his coaching career, and they look like they're on pace to do the same thing this year, only giving up 53 points per game. Best in school history. So Tony Bennett has this team playing his style of play, and actually a better offensive team than I think people were expecting as well.
They're efficient on offense, shooting it at 47% from the field, and that's what they do well. You mentioned the defense, a shot clock violation already, the 3rd turnover on NC State.
You know, and give credit to the fact that NC State came out of the timeout not knowing that the shot clock was low. Abdul Malik Abu didn't even look at the shot clock. He had the basketball in his hands. The play was drawn for him. He never even considered shooting the basketball.
Are we at the point now where Virginia should maybe get a boost in those preseason rankings because of the foundation and the culture, really the bedrock of this program that Tony Bennett has laid over the last 8+ years?
In my opinion, I think we've been at that point and past that point. I mean, when you look at what he's done year in, year out in this program, it's going to happen. You're going to have to come here and scratch and claw. We mentioned the 44-4 at home, and those are ACC games. That's not the fact that he wins 90% of his games here over the last 6 years. This is ACC games over the last 6 seasons. 44-4. I would dare to say that I don't think even Duke has that type of number at home over the past 6 years.
He's turned this into an incredible home court advantage. 11-0 at home this season. Conversely, NC State is a team, we told you about their back-to-back wins against Duke and Clemson, both ranked teams. Those were in Raleigh. The Wolfpack this year, they've been a different team on the road.
Well, and that's the thing. Virginia has been fortunate with the schedule. They have played 4 of their first 5 ACC games here at the JPJ. They do have a win at Virginia Tech, but coming up, they have 5 of 7 on the road. And this is a team right now that, you know, a lot of the talk around town is the fact that they haven't faced much adversity yet. They've had no injuries. They've had the same starters every game. So what will happen when they do face some adversity?
Markel Johnson into the game for NC State. His first appearance since December 9th. He was reinstated on Thursday following the suspension on the heels of a felony assault charge. Those charges were dropped this past Thursday. Johnson was on the bench for that Thursday game against Clemson, did not play. He went through shoot-around this morning. Kevin Keats told us he liked what he saw, and he said that Johnson would not start but would play, and here he is. And Corey, now that he's back with the team, he's been reinstated. What does he bring to North Carolina State?
He brings another defensive guard, but more importantly, he brings a guard that was averaging 6.6 assists per game before he was suspended, which was actually leading the ACC, that gets other players shots. But right now, NC State can't find any good looks on the offensive end of the floor because Virginia's defense is firing on all cylinders.
Cavaliers on an 8-0 run. NC State just 1 of 7 from the field. There's the steal by Batts. He had 5 against Clemson, and he lays it in for 2.
And that's what Batts does. But see, now what Tony Bennett has been able to do to this point is really put the ball in someone else's hands. But now you've got Markel Johnson guarding Devin Hall, and Johnson a great on-ball defender too. So that's what he brings back to this team is now Keats can play 3 small guards and really heat up the pressure on the basketball.
It's essentially a 4-guard lineup for NC State right now. Hall into the paint, and he's going to be fouled. Foul is on Leonard Freeman, his first, third team foul.
One, Leonard Freeman, his first, team's third. At the line, Devin Hall, shooting 2.
Devin Hall, the 5th-year guard out of Virginia Beach, a tri-captain on this Cavaliers team, averaging almost 12 per game, shooting it really well from 3-point range.
Devin Hall has improved in large increments each season here under Tony Bennett. Redshirted as his first year and didn't play much in his second year, but then has continually just increased in his role, starting now probably close to 70 straight games starting midway through his redshirt sophomore year. And now it's probably Virginia's best on-ball defender, but definitely one of the glue guys that keeps this team together. You mentioned his leadership, and not necessarily about him always going out and scoring points. He's one of those guys that just fills the stat sheet in every possible category.
We were talking before the game. You told me he's a guy that might have a shot to play at the next level.
I believe so, because when you look at 6'5", 6'6", he's a very good athlete. He's shooting the ball extremely well, but more importantly, this young man was a point guard in high school, so he has very good basketball feel and definitely a chance as he gets to the next level to make an impression.
Markel Johnson making his presence felt, the assist on the lob to Freeman. Virginia able to break the press.
And that's one of the things for Virginia today is to see if when they do break the pressure, do they go to try to score or bring it out for offense?
Mamadi Diakite misfires.
See that shot right there, and Mamadi Diakite is capable of making that shot, but that's a shot that Kevin Keats will welcome in comparison to Virginia running this offense. He'd rather speed them up and make them take quicker shots.
Now, this is a Virginia team. Their average possession length is 20 seconds plus.
And that shot was taken probably with about 18 to 15 seconds, so it was faster than their normal possession where they make you work so hard on the defensive end of the floor.
Hall drains the 3 off the feed from Jerome.
And that's more of a classic Virginia offensive possession where they didn't get sped up and they got exactly the shot that they wanted from the guy that they wanted it from. Devin Hall shooting the basketball extremely well from 3-point range this season. Tony Bennett loves that shot.
Beverly on the skip pass. 3 is not there. And Hall able to come away with the loose ball. Number 12, DeAndre Hunter into the game for Virginia. He had a nice game, 15 points in the win Tuesday against Syracuse.
And DeAndre Hunter really playing a different role from Virginia than the start of this season. He was a guy that was playing primarily at the small forward position, but now getting more of his minutes at what would be the 4, a bigger guard. But at 6'8", he's capable of playing there, but he doesn't have many basketball handling responsibilities in that case, which has allowed him to be more productive.
Freeman forces it. He's done that a lot, especially in league play, shooting under 30% from the field in the ACC.
And that's one of the things that Kevin Keats has addressed with Al Freeman is to try to get his shots within the flow of the offense and not try to take it upon himself. And when they've played well, he's actually gotten more into a facilitator role than he has a scorer, especially in the last 2 games against Duke and against Clemson.
Hunter lost it. Hall recovers down the lane, drops it off, but called for the offensive foul. Virginia's hit 5 of its first 9. Cavaliers by 9. Kevin Keats' final game at UNC Wilmington came against Virginia. First round of last year's NCAA tournament, UNC Wilmington led by 15 in the first half. Virginia rallied in the second half. The Cavaliers won 76-71. This is what Tony Bennett said afterwards.
There's not a team in the ACC that's like that. That was unique to what we have seen all year.
Well, now there is a team in the ACC like that, although Keats doesn't have quite the same personnel. Tony Bennett telling us in that game last year, UNC Wilmington playing 5 guards, and it took Virginia a while to adjust.
Yeah, but when you said there is a team like that in the ACC, there will be, because Kevin Keats promised coming in that they were going to pressure and force turnovers. It may not happen as much this season for the Wolfpack, but that is the culture that he wants to bring to this program, and we will see it in the near future in Raleigh.
Keats spent time with Rick Pitino, a lot of elements of the old Louisville offense. Also a lot of the defensive principles with the press. Diakite into the arms of Freeman.
All right, so this is not going to be our first disagreement on the day, because I'm not going to call it a disagreement. But Kevin Keats was playing that same style when he was a coach at Hargrave years ago. So again, Rick Pitino, I'm sure, did have influence over him, but he did play a fast-paced style when he was at Hargrave.
How about Virginia going a little up-tempo?
Well, and Virginia already now with 6 fast break points, and that's not something that you see a lot of from the Cavaliers, but it's coming off of turnovers from NC State. And Kevin Keats knows that he cannot have that from this team, especially here on the road. A turnover against Virginia is different than the normal turnover, because there are so few possessions. You have to value every one of them when you get your opportunity.
Freeman, you're at 7 with the offensive rebound. There's the big double. You're at 7, able to pass out of it. Freeman, good position down low, and in his final season with NC State, Leonard Freeman has become an offensive threat for the first time in his career.
And that was a great play by Markel Johnson to flash into the post there to give Yurt 7 an out, because otherwise he had nowhere to go with that basketball. Johnson asking for a substitute, and you're talking about a young man who hasn't played in a month, so believing he may be a little bit winded in his first action back.
Shot clock winding down. And a traveling violation on Jerome.
As you see, NC State on the offensive end of the floor, turning the basketball over, getting it out for Ty Jerome. His easiest basket, I'm sure he'll get, but on the other end of the floor, Yurt 7 is able to split the vaunted post trap that Virginia puts on that is known all over the country. Everybody wants to take a part of what Tony Bennett does with that post trap, but that time Yurt 7 able to split that trap and get it out of there for an easy layup for the Wolfpack.
Explain that. So in the pack line defense, when the ball goes into the post, Virginia does what?
Well, this is something different from necessarily the pack line. What Virginia does, they trap big to big. So they don't allow a post player really to be able to operate by himself. They pretty much take their other big man and force a much bigger trap. As Braxton Beverly's going to put that on his highlight reel as he drops Nigel Johnson right along the free throw line. Believe you me, we're going to see that again on some highlights here tonight.
Freshman out of Hazard, Kentucky, who had originally signed with Ohio State. Had some paperwork to sort through before he could get out of his commitment and come to NC State. Left when Thad Matta was let go. Jack Salt with a nice move, just could not punctuate.
Braxton Beverly adding one to the highlight reel. As we got a little laundry on the ground, Beverly with the nice floater, and you know how much I love floaters, Anish. Virginia, 17-10.
Tonight at 9 on ESPN, Timberwolves, Blazers, NBA Sunday. T-Wolves finishing up a 5-game homestand. They are 4-0, won all 4 games by double digits, blew out the Cavs on the homestand, and Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson meshing well with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Young core, veterans, Minnesota becoming a player in the West.
That team is really coming together well and really had a lot of preseason hype. Got off to a little bit sluggish start, but they are coming around now, and it's not one of the places where people want to have to go play, especially in the spring. It's still cold up there.
There's our first Corey complaint.
That's not a complaint. That's a fact. It is cold in Minnesota. Have you ever been to Minnesota?
I've been to Minnesota. I've been to North Dakota.
Was it cold?
Very cold.
There you go. Then that's a fact. That has nothing to do with the complaint.
We had about 25-degree temperatures today. You've been up north in Syracuse, going the other way, carrying the cold weather with you.
No, that's not me. The cold weather might be following me, but I'm definitely not carrying it. A great matchup between Devin Hall and Al Freeman. These, I told you before the game, had the opportunity to coach both these young men on the same team. They got along really well, but it's going to be interesting to see them because I can remember practices with these two guys going at it, and now as they're both fifth-year graduate students playing in the ACC with an opportunity to go at it, as we see Devin Hall operating on the block. And that's one of the things that Tony Bennett wanted to exploit. If Kevin Keatts was going to play the smaller guards, taking advantage of Devin Hall on the block, as you mentioned, 6'5", 6'6", can handle it like he's much smaller, but the athlete that he is and the size that he has, he can still go to the block and get the job done.
Who else was on that team?
Oh, well, I'm sure all the NC State fans will remember a point guard by the name of Cat Barber. So Cat was actually the point guard on that team, and then we had Troy Williams, who, of course, was at Indiana on to the NBA. So let's just say it wasn't a lot of turnovers on that team because whoever got it shot. That was pretty much the role.
Now, did you win a lot?
We did later in the year. It was a struggle early.
Do we chalk that up to coaching?
I'm going to go with no. Not X's and O's, but Jimmy's and Joe's.
Abu, the rebound off the bats miss. Freeman launches from 3.
And I believe Devin actually got a hand on that one.
You're at 7 on the putback.
But that's the biggest key, and Kevin Keatts told us that early. They have to score to be able to set up that pressure. And so when they have no offense, and it makes it hard for them to put the pressure on Virginia, but when they can get buckets, they can set up that 94 feet.
Nigel Johnson, graduate transfer from Rutgers, began his career at Kansas State. Now it's Guy. He is fouled on the drive by Al Freeman.
And that's really where Kyle Guy's improved so much this season. Last year, he was primarily just a three-point shooter, but now knowing that teams are going to run him off that line, he does a much better job putting the basketball on the floor, either getting to the pull-up or finding his way all the way to the rim.
2 fouls now on Al Freeman, so NC State's leading scorer to the bench, Markel Johnson, back in. And with Johnson and Batts, NC State with 2 of its best perimeter defenders on the floor. Hall for 3. Yes! Third 7, 5 threes Thursday. Salt rips down the rebound.
See, there's a classic case right there. Isaiah Wilkins had a wide open look to step into, but he never even looked at it. Now gets another opportunity and takes advantage of it with an opportunity for the 4-point play. Isaiah Wilkins turned down a good shot for a great shot at the end of the shot clock. His Jerk 7 closes out and picks up his second foul, knocking down Wilkins, who knocks down the 3.
just his second three-pointer of the season in 11 tries. Virginia shooting 60% from the field. It's done offensively so far, and what's impressive, not just tonight, but we've seen this over the years from Tony Bennett's team. They're so good late in the shot clock offensively. Why?
Because they don't panic, and they recognize that their offense normally runs 20 seconds anyway, so when they get down to 25 seconds or so, they know that there's still enough time for them to be able to get a quality look. It's a team that shares the ball very well, but Tony Bennett preaches patience and getting a great shot, not just a good shot on the offensive end of the floor.
Wilkins completes the four-point play. On the bench for NC State, Grid 7 and Al Freeman both have 2 fouls.
And that's the scoring punch when you look at it. For this NC State team, they're going to have to find someone else to step it up. Jack Salt had none of that from Abdul Malik Abu. Abu with an advantage quickness-wise, but Jack Salt with the long left hand to deny that.
Shot clock at 5. Bats to Johnson. 3 not there. Offensive rebound of Leonard Freeman. And the putback is there.
And that's what Leonard Freeman has done all season long for NC State. You're talking about a young man that came in as a 3.6 per game career scorer, averaging well over 11 points per game this year, and he's getting a lot of that work done on the offensive glass.
He gave thought to transferring after the coaching change. Met with Kevin Keats. They hit it off right away. And Freeman decided he wanted to be part of the turnaround.
And one thing that he did, he turned himself around by getting his body into shape. And speaking of getting into shape, Virginia's offense is in great shape. The driving kick, Devin Hall. And something about that corner, because Isaiah Wilkins loves it too. Not enough just for 3, but give it.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Esurance, auto and home insurance for the modern world.
This Virginia defense has come as advertised. They've held NC State to 14 points in the first half. Wolfpack averaging more than 83 per game. And Markel Johnson, in his first game back from a suspension, turns it over.
But you can see that's really where Nigel Johnson can help this Virginia team. He's got the quickness to be able to get out and match up and guard guys 94 feet like he did Markel in that possession. And then, of course, tapping the basketball away, forcing a turnover. I believe that his role is going to have to be greater as this season goes along for Virginia to continue to be successful.
Wilkins puts it on the floor and it turns it over. Aaron's pass to Guy.
See, I got to have a conversation with Zay. Okay, you've made both jump shots you've taken. You got 4 points out of shooting the one in the corner. The shot clock's going down. Shoot the basketball, Zay. Stop looking to get everybody else the ball. What was the first thing I said? He needs to be a little more selfish and looking for his own offense, especially in those scenarios.
Other than that, he has been the ultimate defensive weapon for Tony Bennett. He blocks shots, he rebounds, he guards well.
I had a great conversation with Eric Bacher, of course, the great super SID for the University of Virginia, and Jeff White, who's their great reporter. And the conversation was about if Virginia had to pick their most valuable player right now, who is it? So I immediately came in, and my thought is Isaiah Wilkins. And now, Bacher said, at first he went down the line. It could be Ty Jerome, it could be Kyle Guy, it could definitely be Devin Hall. Devin Hall actually came in second amongst the poll of people that I asked. But when you look at it, this Virginia team doesn't have a huge margin for error. They need all of their pieces to be able to operate the way that they do. But this team and their chemistry is unbelievable.
Dorn gets the roll, and those are the types of possessions Kevin Keats wants. Go up tempo, play at a frenetic pace.
And that's the way they want to do it. And more importantly, they can score and try to pick up full court. Keats now with a smaller lineup on the floor. We mentioned the foul trouble, but Torrin Dorn playing the 4 position, and now he's got to go out and chase one of these small guards around. He's capable of doing so, but it takes a lot of energy out of him.
7th turnover for Virginia. Big Monday on ESPN. We've got Miami hosting Duke at 7. Hurricanes are 4-1 against top 10 Duke teams under Jim Larinaga, and then it's Kansas going to number 2 West Virginia. Mountaineers are going to fall in the rankings, losing to Texas Tech yesterday, and the only loss that Virginia has this year was to West Virginia.
And Virginia, if they're able to take care of business here at home today and get a win, they will most likely move up to that number 2 spot. But you mentioned that Miami-Duke game. Miami is tough to beat at home, and even more so after a loss. They lost at Clemson yesterday. Getting Duke at home, I know that their guys are licking their chops waiting for that matchup.
And Miami's got some young guys, too, who probably want maybe a little more of the spotlight than maybe some of the Duke freshmen have been getting as Abu tips it in.
Well, and another thing with that one, Miami a very good defensive team. And Duke, of course, wants to get up and down the floor. But when Miami is at home, they are a different running team. You and I saw that last week against Florida State. Chris Likes getting out in transition, and they can be dangerous when they get going on the offensive end of the floor.
NC State could not come up with the rebound. We will talk more about that Miami-Duke game at halftime. 51.6 seconds to go in the first half. Virginia's defense stifling, and the Cavaliers shooting 53% from the floor. Devin Hall, 10 points to lead Virginia. He's on the bench with 2 fouls.
So Virginia hasn't had a field goal in about 4 minutes. So that was a welcome opportunity right there for Kyle Gow off the offensive rebound, because Virginia's offense has stalled quite a bit since the Isaiah Wilkins 4-point play.
4-point play. Bernard Freeman in the post. Goes to work on Wilkins with the block shot. Shot clock is off. Abu forces one up and hits. Abdul Malik Abu injured in the early part of the season. They need him to round into form from where he was 2 years ago.
Be careful here. Watch Bats trying to come away with a steal here on the ball. See if they can get a turnover here to end the half.
Jerome, runner. And time expires in the first half. Virginia, the number 1 scoring defense in the country, holding NC State to just 20 points. Devin Hall with 10 points, Ty Jerome with 8, leading the way for Virginia. They've got 18 of the 30. Cavaliers, 20 minutes to a 5-0 record in ACC play.
Baby, call your friends up.
4 teams, 2 conferences, 1 blockbuster night.
High-level college basketball here. What a fun night this is going to be.
Monday on ESPN.
It is a blockbuster Monday. Duke visiting Miami. Kansas going to number 2 West Virginia. And the last 3 meetings between Miami and Duke in Coral Gables, they've all gone to the Hurricanes.
Well, and Miami is an extremely difficult team to beat on their home court. And when you're Duke, you get everyone's best shot. Anywhere you go, you're going to get everyone's best shot. That's one of the reasons why they're probably the most nationally known program in the country. But Miami always there, willing and waiting for them with Jim Larinaga on the sideline.
This is a Miami team that was picked to finish 4th in the ACC. There's a lot of talent. They haven't played a ton of home games up until this point. What is the ceiling for Miami in the ACC this year?
Well, Miami can be a very good team in the ACC this year, but just like everyone else, they're struggling to win on the road. Right now, they've played 3 of their first 4 ACC games on the road. They have a big win at home over Florida State, but when they're at home, they're an extremely dangerous team. Chris Likes is coming on as a freshman to get to know in college basketball, a tremendously exciting young player. And at 5'5", let's call it what it is. At 5'5", he can score with the best of them.
There's going to be a lot of people tuning into that game because of Bagley. They may fall in love with Chris Likes, who is an Energizer bunny for Miami. Allison Williams will be covering the game for ESPN, tweeting out that she was hanging with DJ Vasiljevic on campus before the Canes host the Blue Devils tomorrow, all a part of a blockbuster Monday. Bruce Brown also hanging with Allison. No one's hanging with the big Kiwi. Jack Salt swatting it away. A superlative first-half defensive performance by UVA. Drop started the second half here in Charlottesville. Virginia's defense really shutting down this potent NC State offense in the first half.
Denise, NC State has 11 more field goal attempts than Virginia does, yet it has 10 less points. The reason being is because it has been a struggle against this Virginia defense. 10 to 30 from the field. Virginia has actually turned the basketball over 8 times, yet NC State unable to take advantage of it. You see one of the main reasons, 0 for 9 from 3. Kevin Keach told us in order for them to set up the pressure, they've got to score. That was a struggle in the first half.
Virginia defensively has held all 4 ACC opponents.
And now that's the 9th turnover for Virginia, which is their game average, where they lead the country at only 9 turnovers a game. So that's the one part that has been successful for NC State, but NC State gives it right back on the offensive foul by Malika Boo.
7th turnover for NC State, and that may not look like a big number, but you commit 12, 13 turnovers against Virginia where you're not playing nearly as many possessions as you normally would. That is actually as significant as an 18 or 19 turnover game.
It really is, and when you think about the fact that Virginia is going to run this shot clock down and make you have to guard them for 25 and even sometimes 30 seconds on the shot clock to get a quality look, it makes those turnovers even more pressure.
He's listening to you. He is listening to you.
Thank you. I'm glad he is, because you never do. I appreciate you listening to me, Zay, and taking those shots, because you can tell he's capable of knocking those shots down, and that just adds another dimension to this Virginia offense.
8 points for Isaiah Wilkins, averaging less than 7. Omer Yurtseven playing with the 2 fouls. He'll try a 3. Not there, 0 for 2 from deep.
Now, you see the 7-footer outside shooting threes, and people who haven't seen NC State would say, why is the big guy shooting threes? But he actually made 5 out of 6 from 3 against Clemson on Thursday night. More than capable shooter from that range.
How about Jerome, the great feed to Guy?
And the reason why these are open, because North Carolina State is so aggressive on the defensive end, and they don't get off into the gaps, they pressure. So therefore, Virginia using that against them, so when they curl off those screens, if heads are turned defensively, they're getting wide open look. Didn't execute on the first possession, but got it on the second.
Offensive rebounds, Dorn. Abu flying in, and Wilkins able to save it for Virginia. Ty Jerome had 8 in the first half. Went off in the ACC opener against BC with 31. Guy, the leading scorer. Inside to Salt, great position. Hesitated and can't finish.
And that's the one concern for Virginia right there. When you get that basketball into Jack Salt, finishing is not his forte.
Wolfpack give it right back.
As you see Virginia operating extremely well on the offensive end of the floor when they don't turn the basketball over. And Al Freeman trying to go over the top. No one paying attention. An easy look for Kyle Guy. And those plays become dangerous because you let Kyle Guy get layups. Imagine what happens when he gets a wide open look beyond the 3. You're just building confidence for him.
And he's not short on that either.
No, none whatsoever. That's why I like it.
He does not pass up open shots. Devin Hall does not pass up that one.
And he shouldn't pass up any open shots. The way he's shooting the basketball, 3 for 3 from 3-point range in this one. Devin Hall is shooting lights out here at the JPJ. Great ball movement by the Cavaliers, getting the ball in the hands of the 5th-year senior who knocks down another 3.
Our first big Monday of the season is a Sonic blockbuster at 7 Eastern. Number 7 Duke takes on number 18 Miami. Then in the Big 12, 12th ranked Kansas, number 2 West Virginia. If you've been in football mode and you have not seen Duke freshman Marvin Bagley III, tune in. Only 4 players in the last 20 years have averaged 20 and 10 as a freshman. Michael Beasley, Chris Humphreys, Kevin Durant, and Carmelo Anthony, and Marvin Bagley doing just that for Duke.
And his isn't even close to 20 and 10. He's like 23 and 12. It's way above 20 and 10.
Torin Dorn lays it in. First basket of the second half for NC State.
Yeah, Virginia getting off to a 7-0 run to start the half. Kevin Keats not liking what he sees, calling the timeout, and still a tough bucket for NC State. But the offensive rebound, that's another area where they have been good in this game, and they continue to get better. 10 offensive rebounds in this one so far.
Devin Hall's got 13. He leads all scorers. Jerome down the lane, floater, didn't go.
How you nudge me? Don't nudge me on floaters.
That's a trigger.
Week 7. We talked with Kevin Keats about whether or not they could get Virginia out of their rhythm while Virginia has the basketball offensively. But what we've clearly seen is that Virginia has taken NC State out of their rhythm. NC State likes to run a lot of pick and roll. He wants to get his guards opportunities to play pick and roll and also be able to use your 7 as a pick and pop guy. But Virginia has covered up pretty much everything on the offensive end of the floor.
And Wilkins has picked up 2 quick ones for Virginia. But the Cavaliers up comfortably. Virginia sits at number 3 in the AP poll. The only loss for the Hoos to West Virginia, but West Virginia lost this weekend, so a good chance Virginia will leapfrog to number 2. Villanova will hold serve. They beat St. John's this weekend. We saw Michigan State go down at home to Michigan. Wichita State at number 6, running through the American in their first season in a new league. Yurt 7 backing down Hunter. Now Beverly catch and shoot. NC State 0 for 11 from 3, and Yurt 7 just picked up his 3rd foul. Second time he's gone over the back. So Virginia, go figure, about to be number 2 in the country. In the AP poll, picked 6th in the preseason ACC poll.
Well, and you see, when you look at Duke and North Carolina, both those teams have played, I believe, 3 ACC road games. Virginia's only played 1. Notre Dame playing without Bonzie Colson, playing without Matt Farrell, still contending in the ACC. I mean, give them credit for what they've been able to do to this point. But, Virginia continues to just get the job done. They're a great defensive team and playing good offense this season, which helps. And I believe they're going to check that. Yeah, that's one where DeAndre Hunter, of course, the rim opens up and you want that dunk badly, but I'm not sure if he recognized where the shot clock was. We'll see. I believe I believe he gets that off. No light lights up on the backboard, but we didn't have an opportunity to see the shot clock from that angle. We'll look at the other end of the floor. That's going to be really, really close. This angle lets us know best. The ball is still in his hands. That's as close as you can get, especially with it being a dunk. Had he got that out of his hands a little bit quicker, it definitely would be good, but that may be one they take away going with the dunk.
And they do wave it off.
For the record, I'm like 1 for 6 on those this week. So that's the one time that I actually got it right, but you see the ball still in his hands as that red light goes around the shot clock. And as soon as that red light goes off, immediately it's a dead ball.
And a heads-up call by the officials, because the only way to review that is to do it immediately after the basket. We'll get a reach-in foul down low on Diakite.
NC State right now only 2 points in the second half so far after already playing 5 minutes into this half. And when you're playing against Virginia, getting down big margins is even tougher, because we talked about you don't get as many possessions, but also they make you work so hard when you're on offense to be able to get a quality look. Braxton Beverly, a really good shooter, but you see the closeout by Kyle Guy there forcing the air ball, and that's every shot when you play against Virginia is highly contested.
So NC State is now 0 for 12 from 3, and you could say, okay, well, why not attack inside against Virginia's defense? But when you can't make threes against the pack line defense, what happens?
It just constricts more and more and more.
So it actually makes it harder to get baskets inside.
Absolutely. It's like pouring water on a bad leather jacket, buddy. It just gets smaller and smaller. And if you cannot make those three-pointers from the outside, it is no room for Yurt 7, for Freeman, for Abu to be able to operate in the post.
Foul was on Torin Dorn. Virginia's largest lead tonight, 17. Cavaliers looking to go to 5-0 in the ACC. They're the only team in the Atlantic Coast Conference without a loss in league play. Bernard Freeman corrals the rebound in traffic. Here's Markel Johnson. First game since December 9th. A little bit of rust with that pass.
Pass actually was good, just Torin Dorn unable to catch that and finish it. And that's another one of those missed opportunities for the Wolfpack. When you get easy opportunities like that, especially against a team like Virginia, who they rarely give up points in transition, you've got to take advantage of it.
Hall down the lane, and he's had every bounce tonight. 15 for Devin Hall.
And Devin Hall going with the right hand, and for the record, that is not a floater. Just so you know, you were about to say something that's not a floater.
I was not. This is one of the rare instances that we almost agree, but we just disagreed on agreeing, so forget that.
Yeah, throw that out the window. Agreeing is not what we do. Bernard Freeman with a nice bucket there, but gives NC State an opportunity to set their defense. Now it looks like they'll go a little more zone pressure. Man-to-man pressure really hasn't hurt Virginia much. Virginia has been bothered by zone pressure at times.
Virginia gets it back. Hunter. Down low, Diakite, back to Hunter, and he'll shoot two.
And Markel Johnson on that possession, thinking that would have been a backcourt, but actually it would not have been, Eddie Gatherer, because he didn't have possession of the basketball in the front court. He gave that one up, trying not to get the backcourt call, and it ends up being a break for Virginia on the other end of the floor.
DeAndre Hunter, a redshirt freshman out of Philadelphia, 15 points last time out. And he's scored in double figures in 4 of his last 5 games. It's lengthened Tony Bennett's bench. And he's also given them a different dimension as a guy who can guard multiple positions. And as we saw against Syracuse, he was a zone buster.
But they found that his best position right now for Virginia is to play pretty much at the 4 spot, where early in the season he was playing at the perimeter spot as a 3. But, you know, he struggles handling the basketball at times. But, of course, you can expect that for a guy that's 6'8", but can really shoot the basketball. A lot of things I like about DeAndre Hunter, most notably the number he wears.
Batts drops it off to Leonard Freeman. And Freeman to the foul line.
Another one of those opportunities for NC State. And, again, Freeman gets fouled. He gets an opportunity to go to the free throw line. But it's much greater for them if he's able to make that shot and have the opportunity to make this a three-point play in comparison to 2, because we talked about against Virginia, a 16-point lead is huge. Every opportunity you get to bite into that lead just a little bit helps.
Freeman missed all of last year due to a leg injury. He had to have an 18-inch metal rod inserted into one of his legs to stabilize it. And he has come back this year. We said it in the first half. A guy who in his career never averaged more than 4 points per game. He's averaging more than 11 in his final season in Raleigh.
And that might be a bionic rod, because I remember him playing before he got injured. And he was a good athlete, but he's a great athlete right now. He had a number of plays in the Clemson game just catching the ball around the basket and easily going up and dunking over the competition. So he's done a great job of getting his body back into shape to be able to be effective this season, which will be his last at NC State.
He's lost about 25 pounds as well. Really bought into Kevin Keats' offseason conditioning program. Hall breaks the press. Drops it off down low, and Salts finishes.
And that was the question that I have about Virginia. When they get pressured, are they going to break the pressure to score, or do they break the pressure to set up their offense? That time, Devin Hall doing a great job breaking the pressure and staying aggressive, getting an easy basket for Jack Saul.
NC State turns it over. That's 11 turnovers. Salt, known as a great screener, sets one. Hall wide open for 3. has tied his career high with 4 made threes. First Hall feeding, and then Salt setting the pick in the backcourt. Hall the 3 at the other end. NC State came into this Sunday nighter riding high after back-to-back wins against Duke and Clemson, both ranked teams. But on the road this year, it's been a different story. Just 1-4 outside of Raleigh. And Kevin Keatts still trying to figure out what this team is going to be like going forward in the ACC. At times, you look at the Duke game, you saw them against Clemson, barring the last 90 seconds where they almost melted down. They've showed flashes, beat Arizona in the Bahamas. As they get a foul on Salt. But then a blowout loss to Notre Dame in a game where the Irish did not have Bonzie Colson and Matt Farrell got hurt. Blown out against Clemson in a game at Clemson. What do you make of NC State in Kevin Keatts' first season?
Well, we get to see Jack Salt coming up, and again, I don't see what was wrong with that screen. It doesn't seem as though anyone here in the arena agrees with that call. He seems stationary on that one, but when you look at it, playing on the road in the ACC is not an easy task for anyone. Okay, so then you take a team where Kevin Keatts has talked about the culture of this program has been, over the stretch that he's had guys who have been here before, when things get tough, they're not honestly used to fighting through some of those things. So, but when things are going well, it's easier for them to keep going, and that's what's happened for them at home. Things have gone well for them at home against Duke. They built some confidence. Things started going well for them at home against Clemson. But when you get on the road and no one here is cheering for you and things start to go against you, and oftentimes they've had a struggle battling through it. And we look and see Torn Dorn just made the first three-pointer on the game for NC State. And it's one of those things to where them, when it rains, it pours, and they don't necessarily have the veteran guards right now. I mean, Markel Johnson getting back in the line today, but he's a sophomore. They don't have the veteran guards really to lead this team. They have to rely on, their bigs to be their leadership and their seniors getting the job done. Torn Dorn now scoring the last 5 points. But that's what's going to happen for NC State. They want to be successful. They got to find a way to get Virginia to turn the basketball over.
Bats harassing Johnson, who's able to get away. Virginia's led by as many as 20. Nigel Johnson hits.
For NC State, that's a good defensive possession. You make Nigel Johnson take a long contested 2. He knocks it down. You can't hang your head on that and now go back and see if you can get a good offensive possession, which it turns into a turnover. And now Virginia back with the 15-point lead, the opportunity to add more to that. Kevin Keatts, and we talked about him and how Tony Bennett has built his culture here. Well, Kevin Keatts in that first season is trying to build that culture. When you come to his shoot-arounds, it's not the average shoot-around that you're used to seeing. They actually have a full practice on game days, and they get after it. I mean, guys are paid, they're going out, and they are actually playing against each other. And he says he does that because he wants to build a mindset that every time we step on the court, we're going to compete. And it hasn't gone their way here this evening in Charlottesville. But the thing about Kevin Keatts and what I've known about him, and I've known him for a very long time, he's going to put the hard hat on tomorrow, and they're going back to work. One thing's for certain, they're not going to hang their head and say, okay, it's over for us, because you've seen how they're capable of coming back in the next game.
Johnson from the outside. Here comes Beverly. Dorn finishes. He scored the last 7 for the Wolfpack, and that's where NC State is hoping to do more damage in transition fast break points.
And if there's anyone for the Wolfpack right now that really exemplifies what Kevin Keatts wants, it has been Torn Dorn. He has really bought into the style of play that Kevin Keatts wants to play at NC State, and he's flourished under Coach Keatts thus far this season.
Dorn came in as the second leading scorer, 13 a game. Transferred from UNC Charlotte, where he was the Conference USA Freshman of the Year. And last year, Corey, we saw Torin Dorn play well in non-conference and then disappeared really in league play. He's been much better in ACC play this year, at least in the early going, than he was a season ago.
And that's just from experience. He's the guy that they look to give them that leadership and be able to go out and make plays.
Jerome, and that'll be a shot clock violation. Your NC State, 1 for 13 from 3. If they're able to knock down a couple of outside shots, loosen up this Virginia defense, they've got a chance to make a push here with less than 9 minutes to go in Charlottesville. Problem is they're just 1 of 13 from deep. Out of bounds, it'll stay with NC State.
And that's a tough play there for Braxton Beverly. Amir 7 trying to get to his post-up position, but on the move. It's hard for a big fella to be able to establish position and still be able to catch that basketball. Kyle Gott checking back in for Virginia. And this is one of those games you feel there's something in the air right now. Even though Virginia has a commanding lead, they don't have a full grasp on this game as NC State continues to try to fight.
They love that in this building more than slam dunks.
No, I'm not going to say more than dunks, but they do love it in this building.
I'm going to say more than dunks.
But that goes back to the point. Okay, now, when you look at that shot clock violation, and I don't want to lay blame on one player, but that's LeVar Bax. That is a freshman guard playing in only his 3rd ACC road game, and he never even knew that that shot clock was going down. He gets the ball to Yurt 7, who's a sophomore, who has no idea that shot clock is going down. That's where NC State needs that leadership, someone that recognizes that.
Dorn had it poked away. Bats down the lane. Nifty move by the freshman out of Concord, North Carolina.
And see that it's an 11-point game, and Virginia has had struggles with pressure at times. So NC State, if they can continue to score and set up their pressure, even if it's in the half court, to try to get under Virginia's skin here a bit and force a couple more turnovers, they get right back into this game.
Hall driving past Freeman and over Yurt 7.
But one thing for certain, if you're NC State and you want a chance to get back in this game, you might have to deny the ball to Devin Hall, because every time he touches it, things have gone well for the Hoos.
An offensive foul called on Torin Dorn. Devin Hall with a career-high 20 points to lead Virginia. NC State hoping to make a late push. They're down by 13. But at every turn, it's Devin Hall at the other end. This is not even close. No offense, Napoleon Dynamite, you did not do it better.
Well, I tell you what, rhythm was optional in this dance contest because there was not much rhythm at all. And you have to ask the question, are you dancing to the beat or are you dancing to the words? There's a difference.
Nobody in the section decided to say anything. They just let them go.
Hey, it was a dance contest.
Devin Hall to the basket, count it, and one. He's got the dance moves tonight, a career-high 22, with a chance to add one more.
Well, speaking of rhythm, let the rhythm hit him, Devin Hall. Terrible pick-and-roll coverage by NC State. Miscommunication there between Beverly and Yurt 7, giving up the baseline to Devin Hall, who continues to have a stellar evening.
Fifth-year guard out of Virginia Beach, who actually graduated and got his degree in 3 years, or as they say on the campus of the University of Virginia, walked the lawn.
Okay, look at you. I see you catching up on your UVA knowledge. That must be all those lacrosse visits you've made here.
A lot of lacrosse visits. Omir Yurt 7, the 7-footer from Turkey.
And he hasn't been able to get much going at all offensively in this game after coming off a career-high 29 points as Torin Dorn comes up a little gimpy. On this one, a bit of a collision in the backcourt.
Wilkins clears the timeline, a lot of contact. Guy wide open. He green lights it. Hunter, the offensive rebound. draws the foul on Yurtseven, and that is 4 on Omer Yurtseven.
That's his 4.
Sports Center tonight after the Trailblazers and T-Wolves on ESPN. When we look ahead to the NFC and AFC championship matchups, Vikings currently leading New Orleans, so the winner of that game will take on Philadelphia. Ramona Shelburne reveals the emotions for Chris Paul as he gets ready to return to LA to face the Clippers Monday. And the Cavs taking on the Warriors, looking to end a 3-game losing streak.
That's the wrong place to go look in the skid.
Golden State has won 12 straight on the road.
That's a breakdown from Virginia. Rarely will you see anyone get to the basket that quickly, and that was all because of the Yurtseven coming over to set the screen. Miscommunication on pick-and-roll coverage for Virginia there, and that's a rare sighting.
Yurtseven on the floor with 4 fouls. If you're Virginia, do you try to go at number 14 in red? There's Nigel Johnson. Guy knocks down the 3.
You know, from this vantage point, Anish, that's pretty. I mean, when you see him come off flying off screens like that, and he elevates very well in his shot, that's a beautiful looking shot.
Dorn does not hit rim.
I'm not going to say the same for that last shot. And nothing against Torn Dorn. Like Torn Dorn a lot, but that shot was not beautiful.
16-point lead for Virginia. Wilkins on the inside. Here comes Dorn. Let's see if NC State pushes Dorn all the way to the basket. He's got a team-high 15.
And again, you know, you see NC State making some plays here and there, but it's still a 14-point game. And they've got to be able to score at a faster pace in order to try to speed up Virginia. But right now I'm thinking at some point Kevin Keats is going to have to start bringing some traps to try to make guys give the basketball up and force some turnovers in the backcourt.
They did not call a foul on Al Freeman, to the dismay of this crowd. Here comes Guy. Hall's got 23. And he's got a chance for 2 more.
One of the things that you have to have in Tony Bennett's offense, the mover blocker offense, you've got to have guys that can fly off screen and make shots. And that is a beautiful representation of being able to fly off a screen and knock down a 3. Kyle Guy making it look oh so easy.
Tony Bennett telling us this morning that Guy in the offseason worked a lot on his defense. He's come a long way in that department from a year ago, and he's added a bit of bulk, and of course the obvious difference from last year is the hair. The man bun is gone.
Lost a lot of weight. Lost a lot of weight with the top of the hair. But Kyle, he said it. I asked him over the summer. I said, what happened to the man bun? He said, want to be known more for my game than for my hair. He was a target on the road everywhere that he went. And now, at the end of the day, he's got 5 out of 7 games coming up to play on the road. They can talk all they want about the man bun, but they can't say anything about the numbers he's putting up.
They got to find a different chant. Last year they would chant man bun when Guy touched the ball on the road. Right now, Guy's team in full control. UVA by 16. Monday, an ESPN Sonic blockbuster, Duke and Miami at 7 Eastern. That's in Coral Gables, followed by Kansas going to number 2 West Virginia. Mountaineers will likely fall in the rankings after a loss this weekend to Texas Tech. You look at what's happened to Duke and Miami and Clemson going on the road in league play. Home teams so far 26-9 in ACC play. And how much of that has to do with the top tier? There's maybe not that much of a separation between the elite teams in this league, or maybe there's not that many elite teams in the ACC.
Well, I don't think there honestly are that many elite teams in the ACC this season. I think there are a bunch of good teams. But when you talk about elite, I mean, and to take that point even further, I don't think there are many elite teams throughout the country.
Fair.
And I think that makes for a very interesting March and what we're going to see when we get to tournament time, both conference tournaments as well as the NCAA tournament. But there's a lot of parity throughout the country this year. in which any team can win on any given night. You've got 14 teams right now that none of those are going to be easy outs in the ACC, especially when you step onto their home court.
So Monday when Duke goes down to Miami, and if Miami wins that game, it'll be talked about.
It'll be talked about because it's Duke.
But you're saying don't make too much of it.
To people that follow this game, you don't make too much of it, and it's not a surprise at all. I mean, we've seen Duke struggle against teams on the road that, in all honesty, aren't as good as Miami. So, therefore, I mean, if Miami wins that game, I don't think it would be a shock to anyone. I'd be surprised to see who's actually favored in that game.
Duke's lost on the road to BC and NC State. Wilkins thought about the three, passed it up to Corey's dismay, but Guy able to knock it down.
Well, I'm not dismayed by him passing up that one because I got an opportunity to see a beautiful shot once again from Kyle Guy.
Come on, your first instinct was shooting.
Oh, well, I mean, again, we're not talking about me. If it was me, the shot clock would have never gotten that low.
You would not have been a fit of Tony Bennett's offense?
You know, I love Tony Bennett and love what he's done here at my alma mater, but you're right. I would not have been a fit. I like to shoot in the first 5 to 6 seconds of the shot clock, not the last 5 to 6.
Final ticks of the shot clock. Johnson over to Jerome. Over yard 7, too strong. And here comes Batts.
I honestly believe had Ty Jerome pulled up and shot a jump shot, he would have made that instead of going to the floater because he is a very good shooter. And the floater is a shot left up to chance. A jump shot is a more precise shot.
I really hate the floater.
I really do hate it. I have a huge problem with the floater.
Wilkins fouled on the way up. Well, Virginia has had a home-heavy schedule early in ACC play. They're about to go on the road for 3 of the next 4 at Georgia Tech, which is a much different team than the one that started 6 and 7. Georgia Tech is now healthy. You've got to go to Wake Forest. We'll have that game next Sunday. Then home for Clemson before a big road game at Duke towards the end of the month.
And then Louisville coming here, and Virginia has had Louisville's number since they entered the ACC, and they're partners, so they play twice a year, and Virginia really has just had their number going to Louisville to open up the ACC a season ago and beating the Cards by 20-plus points. So I'm sure that's something David Padgett is talking to his team about when they get an opportunity to play Virginia. They want to be able to get a win against the Cavaliers, but coming here, it's just hard to win in this building for opposing teams.
Torin Dorn. Yard 7, battling for the rebound down low, tied up, and we get a jump ball. Possession arrow, NC State. Omer Yard 7 a season ago nearly toyed with turning pro, whether that was entering into the NBA draft or playing overseas. Was seen by many as a second rounder, decided to come back, and with that outside shot developing, his stock is soaring.
Well, I believe that he was Kevin Keats' best recruit because Keats had to actually recruit Yurt 7 to come back to NC State once he was named the head coach here. And I believe that was his best recruit in his first class. LeVar Batts was a good one to get. Braxton Beverly was a good one to get. But, you know, he had to get Yurt 7 back to this program. And Coach Keats told us, plain and simple, this team is going to look much different next year because you think about the fact that you lose Sam Hunt, you lose Al Freeman, you lose Bernard Freeman, you lose Abdul Malik Abu. I mean, there's going to be a completely different look at this team next year. It probably will have more of an identity of Kevin Keats.
Nice move that time by the freshman, LeVar Batts.
See Keats continuing to coach up LeVar Batts, the freshman guard who makes a nice move to the rim, but he's talked to him about the fact that he helped too far off of Kyle Guy, giving up a 3 on the opposing end of the floor.
Kevin Keats and the Wolfpack, they return home Thursday to take on Wake, then get Miami in Raleigh before going on the road to Pittsburgh. And if you're NC State, even if you're not going to get this one tonight, but if you can hold serve at home, the road game at Pittsburgh, that might be the one team in the ACC that is a gimme doesn't matter where you play them, they just haven't been very good this year.
Well, yeah, you remember I said 14 teams, not 15. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Right now, it has been a struggle for Pittsburgh. You know, Kevin Stallings having to play with 11 newcomers, which is extremely tough. We're talking about the inexperience of NC State having to come into this building, and they've got a bunch of new guys. Imagine having to play with 11 newcomers and going out on the road in the ACC. That's a tough task to be able to take on.
Virginia on its way to going to 5-0 in conference play. UVA about to improve to 12-0 at home. This would be their 14th consecutive home victory, and that runs their record now to 45-4 in home ACC games over the last 6 seasons.
And Virginia about to get to that magical 70 number where they flat out do not lose. Only 2 losses in Tony Bennett's coaching career here at the University of Virginia when they've scored 70 or more points.
And defensively, on the verge of holding another team to fewer than 50. It would be the 8th time they've done that this season. Virginia does not bother to shoot it. Jack Salt coming back in for UVA and Tony Bennett.
Isaiah Wilkins.
LeVar bats from the outside, and the 3 goes for Bats.
And you hear the moan of the crowd.
Because they just went north of 50.
They get over 50 points.
It was a complete effort by Tony Bennett's team. Virginia shot 56% from the field. They held NC State to just 51 points. The Wolfpack 1 for 15 from 3-point range. It was defense, it was offensive efficiency. It was a familiar blueprint for Tony Bennett and the Cavaliers. We're back with more from Charlottesville. This was vintage Virginia. Efficient on offense, stifling on defense. And the Cavaliers now setting the pace in the ACC. They're 5-0 in league play, the only team in the ACC without a conference loss. Corey Alexander, Anish Shroff, and tonight the offensive star was Devin Hall, a career night, 25 points for him.
And that's what Virginia has had. They've had someone different step up all the time, but Devin Hall has probably been their most consistent player all year long. And tonight a career high, and shot the ball extremely well from the three-point arc, continues to improve in every aspect of the game, but most importantly, his shooting, which allows him to be even more dangerous with his ability to find other players and get to the basket to score on his own. So Devin Hall, the graduate senior, continues to impress in a UVA uniform.
He was 4 of 5 from downtown in the win against North Carolina. He had 16 points, was 4 for 4 from three-point range, and you mentioned Hall, Isaiah Wilkins. Those guys are the experienced players on Virginia. Wilkins has done it on the defensive end. Hall beginning to be the guy on the offensive end.
Well, and that's the thing. They understand the culture for Tony Bennett and what he wants to accomplish here at the University of Virginia. Devin Hall has been here now in his 5th year. Isaiah Wilkins is in his 4th year. And they understand what Coach Bennett wants. And they've also been here to see the success of this team. Both these guys were on the 2013-2014 ACC championship team and played with a number of special players. So they both understand what it takes to be successful in this uniform, and they're going out getting it done.
Virginia now 16-1. 5-0 in the ACC. The Cavaliers, the team that everybody is chasing. Kyle Guy had a nice night as well, 17. We're about to talk to Devin Hall when we come back. Virginia improving to 5-0 in the ACC, and tonight, Devin Hall sitting with us was the offensive star. He had a career-high 25 points. When did you know this was going to be your night?
Just taking my shots when they were there, just shooting with confidence.
I had an opportunity to tell people about you and Al Freeman both being teammates in AAU. Do you have a little extra fun getting to go against Al out there tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a heck of a player, and he's a battler. So, I mean, I love to compete against good players.
Devin, this was a team that many overlooked in the preseason. I know you guys don't care about that, but being 5-0 in the ACC, being the number 3 team in the country, What is it about this team that's making it so special that the rest of us missed?
I mean, I think it just speaks to what we do every single day in practice. Just trying to make sure we stick to who we are, and trying to figure out who we were early in the season. And we're a defensive team, so that's what we have to do.
And Devin, your ability to shoot the basketball, especially over the last 2 ACC games, has really separated you and your team from your opponents. What is it that you did to get to this point to where you're shooting the ball so well?
Reps. I busted my butt over the summer and try to groove a pattern in my shot and just shooting with confidence every single day. I come and work my butt off. So reps.
Reps. You heard it tonight. It paid off. 25 points, a career high for Devin Hall. 4 3-pointers. Second time he's had 4 threes in an ACC game this season. And as he'll tell you, the most important thing, Virginia got the W. The Hoos now 5-0 in conference play. The only team in the ACC unbeaten in conference.